Well, hello everyone, my name is Zwiggojr. Welcome back to another video, and today I have something very special for you guys. I was thinking about challenges and I thought about the move Me First. For the people that don't know what Me First is, it's an attack that basically steals your opponent's move. But there are a few drawbacks to it. For example, if your opponent doesn't use an attacking move, like for example, Starly uses Growl and you go for Me First, you're not gonna copy that Growl, your move is just gonna fail. Another thing is that Me First isn't actually a priority move, which is just insane to me, but I kind of get it, because if your opponent goes for, let's say, a quick attack, you're not gonna be able to copy that because they're going to attack before you, so that will cause Me First to fail once more. But a good thing about Me First is that if you steal the move, it actually increases its power by 50%, which basically makes you use your opponent's power against them, but even stronger. I will be doing this in Generation 4 in Pokemon Platinum, but there is only a handful of Pokemon that can actually learn Me First. But one Pokemon in particular is going to get us the furthest. And no, it's not Mewtwo, it's actually going to be Mew. The reason why is its ability, Synchronize. Remember what I said before? Me First isn't a priority move, so if you get paralyzed, Me First is always going to fail. Well, with Synchronize, this is going to get rid of a little bit of the problem, because if you get paralyzed, you are also going to paralyze the opponent with the Synchronize ability, which means that you're on equal speed. We also need to outspeed Pokemon naturally, and with Mew's base 100 speed, this is not going to be a problem. A few added rules are that I can't use any items in battle. Of course, I will be allowed to use my HM Pokemon. And this rule is very important. I'm not going to be able to add a second Pokemon with Me First on my team, so I'm only going to be working with this one Mew. With that out of the way, don't forget to smash that like button and hit that subscribe button if you haven't done that already, and let's just jump right into it. We start off the game by naming ourselves Mr. Steel, and our Mew's name later is gonna be Yo Move, so we're gonna be Mr. Steel Yo Move. Our rival's nickname is gonna be Snape because I was looking up some memes about using their power against them, and this is the only one that really popped up. I'm not a big Harry Potter fan though, don't get me wrong. Before we can actually get into this playthrough, I'm gonna need a Pokemon with Me First. And since I've never changed a Pokemon's moveset or whatever, I really didn't know how to do this, so I looked it up. You have to download PK Hex, then you can do something with movesets or whatever. I was stuck here for quite a bit. I managed to get a Mew, but I couldn't get it to learn Me First, so I tried to beat up the rival first, which is what I did. Then I did the exact same thing, and my Mew all of a sudden had Me First. I think the game just freaks out if you don't have any Pokemon in your party and you try to hack one in. It just doesn't work like that, so you have to beat the rival first in order to get your Me First Mon, because I'm sorry, I'm not really an expert when it comes to PK hacks. This is my first time using it. So me and Mr. Steal Your Move were finally ready to start our journey as we went up to the lab of Professor Rowan, where we of course find the Pokédex, which we are totally going to fill out this time. Psych. I've actually never completed a Pokédex in my entire Pokemon career, which is just crazy to me because I've been playing Pokemon for so long and I've never completed a dex. Kinda embarrassing. And I beat up all of the trainers on the next round, which went pretty damn smoothly, didn't even have to go back to the Poké Center. But then I arrived at the trainer school and I decided to take on two trainers there, and one of them had a Starly which only has Quick Attack, it doesn't have Tackle. So of course, naturally, I lost this battle because all of my Me Firsts failed. And I pick up my special watch and decide to go to the first rival battle straight away. Guess what? He has a Starly. Look at its moveset. Only Quick Attack. Where did Tackle go? Why doesn't this Starly have Tackle? So yeah, this was basically the run over already, but I didn't want it to end here. You see, in this game, if you throw a ball at a Pokemon in a trainer battle, it actually counts as doing nothing. So I'm not breaking the rules, I'm just stalling out this Starly. But in order for me to stall out that Starly and have enough Me Firsts left in order to also take down the Chimchar, I'm going to have to grind. So I decided to get my Mew at least up to level 20 so that he could tank all of the hits and make this Starly struggle to death. After a very long process of throwing balls at a little bird and getting them rolled back at me, I was eventually able to let it waste 40 quick attacks and 40 growls in order to start taking itself down with struggles. Of course, next up is the Chimchar, but this thing decides to go for Leer 6 times before it actually goes for an attacking move. This is just amazing. And because of all the growls, I'm now at -6 attack, but that doesn't really matter. I can still take out the Chimchar with 3 of his own scratches. Whew, level 20 for the first rival battle. Don't think I've ever had to do that. Now, since we're already this high leveled, I'm just gonna jump into the Rourke fight straight away. Of course, all of these Pokemon have moves that are not very effective against them. So I'm stealing moves like Rock Throw and barely doing any damage because they resist everything. But because we're so over leveled, we can actually do some decent damage with Rock Throw and take out the Geodude very fast. Next up is Cranidos, and he decides to go for Pursuits because that's of course super effective against us, but we're using his power against him, so 2 of them can take him out. Last up is Onix, and that thing went down the same way as Geodude, with me stealing all of his Rock Throws. Pretty easy gym badge, but I'm a little bit afraid of the PP usage of me first. Then on my way to Floroma Town, I actually ran into this trainer with a Budew, and it only had Absorb as an attacking move, and I barely did any damage to it. This makes me very afraid for the second gym, which has a Roserade, which is even more bulky and probably will absolutely tear my ass apart. The next battle is with Commander Mars at the Valet Windworks, and she starts off with a Zubat, which of course has to poison me with Toxic before I can take it out by stealing her bite. Next up is Purugly, which can hit me with a Fake Out and stall me out for another Toxic turn before I can take it out with 2 more Feint attacks that I steal from the Fat Cat. Status conditions are going to be my downfall, I already know it. Then some time passed by and I eventually reached Gardenia, one of the most annoying opponents I am going to have throughout this entire run. Just kidding, there are so many more that are going to absolutely tear me apart. So of course she has a Turtwig that only has Razor Leaf as an attacking move. She has a second Pokemon called Cherrim, and if this thing goes for a Leech Seed, I have lost, because there is no way for me to win if I'm seeded. If I manage to get past the Cherrim without being seeded, I have to face her final Pokemon, Roserade, which also is very annoying because it only has Magical Leaf that it uses against me, which is 4 times resisted by it, and it also has Stun Spore, which I do take care of with my Synchronize, because if we didn't have the Synchronize ability, the run would end here because I wouldn't be able to get past the Roserade. I was stuck here for so long that I didn't even know what to do, because grinding in this area isn't easy. The Pokemon barely give any more XP, and I'm already level 35. So what I did was I just went back to the gym over and over and over again so that I would just get XP from the Turtwig and the Cherrim that I was always feigning, because that would be the fastest way for my Mew to level up, and eventually I knew that I would win. So at level 35 I was able to 2-shot her first Pokemon, Turtwig, with Razor Leaves. The Cherrim decided to hit me with Magical Leaf 2 times in a row and not using any Leech Seeds, so we can get past her rather quickly as well. Last up is of course Roserade. It starts off by Stun Sporing me because that's always the thing it does first. And then eventually I start whittling it down with Magical Leaves, but it also had a Citrus Berry, so it healed up once, just a little bit though, and then we can take it out with 3 more Magical Leaves. Quite the annoying gym battle, but now it's time for us to head on to Jupiter in the Team Galactic building. Her first Zubat caused his own demise with a bite, and next up is Skuntank, which we can take out with a couple of Night Slashes after it of course hit me with a smokescreen and made me miss a ton of moves. Next up is Fantina, our French girl, and Ghost types are of course weak to their own typing, so this fight shouldn't be a problem at all. At the start of the battle, I actually was very afraid of her Duskull because it has Shadow Sneak, which of course is a priority move, so my Me First will fail. And I thought that it would just go for it until it ran out of PP, so I thought, no please, don't let me level up even more. But eventually it went for Pursuit, and I killed it in 1 hit. Next up is Miss Magius, who decides to go for a Shadow Ball and take itself out with that. Next up is Hunter, who decides to put me to sleep with Hypnosis, and then he tries to hit a Sucker Punch, which I was also afraid of, but then he just decided to go for Shadow Claws. Eventually I woke up and took him out with his own hand. That's 3 gym badges down. Time for the next rival battle. Guess what he decided to add to his team? A Roselia. Yes, the second gym badge all over again. Can't wait to deal with this in the future when it becomes a Rose Raid. Well, at least it's less bulky than the Rose Raid from before, but in exchange, it actually gets Leech Seed. So if it goes for Leech Seed, I have to reset, because then I'm dead. And it also uses Mega Drain, so it also gets a little bit of HP back every turn, which is also quite annoying. But we of course steal that, and we also get HP back. So after a few attempts, I actually already won. He starts off with a Staravia who just loves to set up double teams. So after wasting 5 of my me firsts, it finally decided to go for Wing Attack. I of course miss, but the turn after it went for Wing Attack once more, and I hit, and it took it out in one shot. Next up is Buizel, which you can take out with its own Pursuit. Then Monferno was next, who I took out with 3 of his own Flame Wheels. And last up was Roselia, who did not go for Leech Seed this time, so after spamming Mega Drain, I eventually took it out. After that, it was time for me to hit the gym and punch some punching bags because I was angry after all those annoying fights. Then I reached the gym leader Maylene, and on my first attempt I had a little bit of bad luck because all of her Pokemon decided to go for Rock Tomb, which lowers my speed. So by the time that I took out Meditite and Machoke, it was time for Lucario, and my speed dropped so much that Lucario actually outsped me, which meant that my me first always failed and I lost. On my second attempt, it went way better because I can take out the Meditite with 2 Rock Tombs, only having 1 speed lowering. And next up is Machoke. It decides to go for Strength this time, which means we can take it out in a single hit. And finally is Lucario, who goes for the Stab Metal Claw twice in a row to take himself out. We now have 4 gym badges, and you know what happens after you get a gym badge. Another rival battle. And this man starts off with his Staravia like always, but there is a little bit of a problem here because I can't one-shot it with a Wing Attack because it lowers my attack with Intimidate. It always decides to go for Endeavor after that, which is basically a death sentence for me because I don't have any HP remaining for the rest of his Pokemon. So I decided to go to the route where no one ever goes to with all of the mud. I think I've only been on this route like 3 times in my entire life. Like seriously, why is it even here? The good thing about this route is the amount of trainers, which I can all take out with my me first, until I eventually level up and have enough power to take down Staravia with a single Wing Attack. We can then also one-shot Weasel with a Pursuit. Next up is Roselia at level 32 with Magical Leaf this time, which we can take out with 4 of them. And last up is a level 36 Monferno. Don't ask me why he doesn't evolve his Pokemon, he's just very stupid. But 3 Flame Wheels take care of the monkey as well. Next up is the thick wrestling boy, Crasher Wake, with his water types, and he starts off with a Gyarados, which of course has Intimidate, which is going to be bad for me for the rest of the battle. But luckily we can easily bite our way through the snake, even though that Mew doesn't have any teeth. Or does it? Next out comes Floatzel, which we can 2-shot with his own crunches. And last up is Quagsire. It decides to go for a Rock Tomb first turn, which was kind of scary, but then it just went for Mud Shot, and we can take him out with a single one of those. Well, after that, we're going to fast forward to the Cyrus battle down at the ruins. And I always forget the name of this town. The Old Lady Town. Let's call it that from now on. Let's change its name to Old Lady Town. Anyway, let's just jump right into the battle. He starts off with a Sneasel, which hits us with 2 Ice Punches. As we hit him back with those, we take him out. Next up is Murkrow, which actually is able to do a lot of damage against me, more than half of my health, with Feint Attacks and Nightshades, but eventually we do come out on top after killing it with Nightshade. And last up is Golbat, which we take out with a single bite once again, no teeth. We get the HM for Surf and go to Canalave City straight away, and here is one of the very big. Guess what it is? If you guessed Rose Raid, you are right. Once again, this Mon is absolutely the devil. This time it has become even more annoying with Leech Seed, Giga Drain, and Grass Whistle. If Leech Seed and Giga Drain wasn't already enough for it to get enough health back, it can also put me to sleep now. I tried this battle so many times, at least 150 attempts, maybe more. I wasn't really keeping count, but eventually at level 67, which I got by only battling him, I didn't battle anyone else, I just kept on going back so that my Mew would level up, I was finally able to get my winning run. He starts off with a Staraptor, which we take down with a takedown. Next up is Heracross, who we steal Night Slash from. We get a critical hit, which also downs it in one hit. Next up is Floatzel. It decides to go for Pursuit, and I get another critical hit, one-shotting it as well. Next up is Roserade, and it decides to waste 2 of my Me Firstes with Grass Whistles, but then it just decided to spam Giga Drain, not go for Leech Seed, not go for Grass Whistle anymore, and we can take it out. Last up is Infernape, which we can take down with 3 Flame Wheels, and we only had 1 Me First left, so this was pretty damn close. We can finally put that awful battle behind us and head on to the next hell, Byron. And why is Byron bad? Well, it's all because of a Pokemon named Bastiodon. The reason is it has Iron Defense, and of course its defense is already through the roof. And it also has one attacking move that it can hit me with, which is Stone Edge, a move that it resists already. And on top of that, Stone Edge only has 5 PP, so I only have 5 turns to take down this Bastiodon. If it goes for a single Iron Defense, I have to reset because then there is no way I'm taking it down. But it also has Taunt on top of that. If it uses Taunt, I also have to reset because that means that I cannot use my Me First because it's locked. So with all of that in mind, let's see how lucky I had to get in order to beat this thing. So his first Pokemon is the Magneton, which we always take down with a single Thunderbolt, no problem at all. And then the Bastiodon is the second one. It decides to set up some Iron defenses, so I thought, okay, this run is basically over, but I'm gonna waste my Me First on it anyway. Eventually, it went for 3 Stone Edges in a row, and on my third one, I got a critical hit, so I bypassed his defensive buffs and took him out in a single hit. Then he sends out his Steelix, and I have more than enough PP remaining to take him down with 1 Earthquake. That is 6 gym badges down. That means it's time for us to go ahead and do all of the lake battles. Honestly, since I'm level 69, nice. These weren't a problem at all. I did have a bit of trouble with some Bronzors, which makes me very afraid of the Bronzong that's waiting for me in the league. But besides that, I was easily able to sweep through the rest of their teams without any problems at all. After that, I got my ass whooped by a Scyther while I was making my way up to Snowpoint City. But eventually, I was able to reach Candace with her Ice-type Pokemon, and she even has Ice in her name. I see what you did there, Game Freak. On my first few attempts, I actually got super unlucky because I missed a lot of moves, and Abomasnow just didn't want to go down. Frostlass also hits pretty hard, but in general there wasn't a big threat on our team. So on my 4th attempt I was already able to get my winning run, take out our first Pokemon Sneasel with 3 of her own Feint attacks. Frostlass then decided to waste my time a little bit by setting up 4 double teams, but eventually he just went for a Shadow Ball and I hit it first turn, taking it out, and then moving along to Abomasnow, which was actually able to do a lot of damage against me with Wood Hammers and Avalanches. But eventually I came out on top and her final Pokemon was Piloswine, who went down to a single Earthquake. Of course, now we have to have a moment of silence because Cyrus is going to give us an amazing speech once more. Let's see what he has to say this time.
I'm really rich.
Just amazing. How can you not love this man? Of course, after that speech, we have to beat him up as well. His first Pokemon is once again a Sneasel, which we can take out with a few Ice Punches and Slashes that we steal from him. After that was Hunchcrow, which actually was able to hit a Feint attack before I can take him out with 2 of those as well. And last up is Crobat, whom once again decides to go for Bite. My Mew's bites aren't that strong, but they are enough to take down the Crobat with 3 of them. Now the next battle is one that I totally didn't think I would have any problems with. It's the one with Saturn. The only reason why I lost is because of Toxicroak's X-Scissor that he decides to use every single time, which is 4 times resisted by him. And of course it's super effective on me. Eventually though, I was able to beat him because he decided, out of the blue, to just go for Poison Jab, which was enough to take him out in 1 shot, and I was pretty happy with that. After winning that battle, we set free the Lake Trio and go to the top of Mount Coronet to do the double battle with our rival against the 2 commanders. This was one of the easiest battles up until now, because they always decided to attack my teammate, and I could just steal their moves without them even noticing. I was smacking Bronzors, smacking Golbats, smacking the Perugly and the Skuntank without even feigning once. First attempt. That's all I gotta say. After winning that, Cyrus summons our Space Boy, our Time Boy, and our Antimatter Boy. The 3 Lake Trio guys jump into a portal, and we decide to go after them with Cynthia. Try to explain that when you go home to your mother. After going through the Distortion World, we eventually reach Cyrus for our final showdown. And he starts off with a Houndoom, which is super annoying if he uses a Will-O-Wisp, because then I basically lose the battle, since I can't afford to take burn damage every single turn. And I also can't really live with my attack being cut in half. Besides that, he also has a Crobat, which can poison me and basically end my run, and a Gyarados and a Weavile, which can also hit very hard. And the Gyarados has Earthquake, which if it uses Earthquake, he does a lot of damage to me, but my Me First isn't going to hit him because he's Flying type. Eventually though, after a lot of attempts, once again, I was able to beat Cyrus and his Devil team. Since we can two-shot his first Pokemon Houndoom with his own Dark Pulses, Honchkrow can't take 2 of his own Night Slashes. Next up is Weavile, and I got pretty lucky here because my Night Slash was a critical hit, taking him out in 1 shot. Then Crobat came out, who was a 2-shot with Cross Poison and Air Slash. And last up was Gyarados. He decides to go for the Waterfall, and I get my critical hit to take him out in a single shot. I have no idea why that 1 shot, but it happened. So I'm happy. Now it is time for the last gym leader, Volkner, with his electric types. As we all know, he starts off with a Jolteon, and this Jolteon made me lose the run. You might think, what does he mean? Why does this Jolteon end the run here? Well, it's because he always goes for Thunder Wave. Always. If you're not paralyzed, he's not going to go for a different move. And yes, that's not really a problem in itself, because, you know, we can still take out the Jolteon, but it is still a problem for the next few Pokemon that come after him. There is physically no way to defeat those Pokemon without using a full heal or a paralyze heal. I tried this battle so many times, hoping for him to go for something else than a Thunder Wave on turn 1, but it just didn't happen. So with the rules that I implemented, the run ends here. But I'm not stopping here. I want to complete this game. So what I'll have to do is, when I defeat the Jolteon, I'm just going to use a full heal on my Mew in order to win this battle. But that's not where it ends, because I also had a problem with the Jolteon because it has the ability Volt Absorb. And it always goes for Charge Beam 10 times in a row after it paralyzes me. So I have to stall it out of Charge Beams before I can actually take it out with its only other attacking move, Iron Tail. And in order to stall out 10 Charge Beams, because Charge Beam also ups your special attack, I had to be level 100. But eventually, after a lot of attempts, I was once again able to conquer this one as well, having to stall out all of the Jolteon's Charge Beams by throwing my balls at him, so that he eventually went for Iron Tail, and that was enough to take him out in 1 shot. Next up was Raichu, so I used my full heal and got rid of my paralysis. I was only left with 13 HP after he attacked me, but then I could take him out with a Signal Beam. Next out was Luxray. That thing went for an Ice Fang, so it one-shotted him as well. And finally was Electivire, who I took out with his own Fire Punch. Now we can finally head on to the final rival battle before we can enter the Elite 4. And this one wasn't really a problem. He starts off with a Staraptor and decides to go for U-turn, so I steal that, do about half of his health, and he switches into Heracross, which goes down to 2 Night Slashes of his own. Next up is Staraptor. He goes for U-turn once again, and that causes his demise. His next Pokemon is Floatzel, who I take down with his own Crunch, and then Roserade comes out, who is no problem right now because he decides to go for Shadow Ball, which takes him out in 1 shot. Next up is a fat Snorlax who decides to go for Crunch, and I get the critical hit to take him out in 1 hit as well. And finally is Infernape, who we take down with 2 of his Shadow Claws. Next up is Aaron. I wasn't really confident going into this fight because Bug types are good against me and Bug resists Bug, so I thought I was screwed. But honestly, it wasn't that bad because I won on my first attempt somehow. He starts off with a Yanmega and starts with setting up some double teams, but luckily he decides to go for U-turn after that, and he switches into Scizor. We then throw some X-Scissors around until he eventually faints, but he was able to do a big amount of damage against my Mew. He then switches back into his Yanmega and eventually goes for Bug Buzz, which is the death of that Dragonfly. Next up is Vespiquen, and it decides to go for the attack order. I get a critical hit with it and take it out in 1 shot, otherwise there is no way he would have fainted in 1 hit. His next Pokemon is a Drapion, which goes for X-Scissor, but luckily he doesn't resist that, so he goes down as well. And finally his Heracross, I go for the Mega Horn, which is 4 times resisted, but it still takes him out, so I'm pretty happy with that. Next is Bertha, and Bertha is the second run ender of this game. If you know her team a bit, she has a Gliscor, which is part flying type, so it always decides to go for Earthquake. No matter what I do, I tried this fight over 200 times easily. It did never go for any of his other moves, always just Earthquake, 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 so I can't hit the Gliscor. And my Mew can't stall out 10 Earthquakes. It's impossible without using a healing item. So this is the second rule that I have to break here. I have to use more items in order to heal up my Mew so I can take out the Gliscor. The rest of her team isn't that much of a problem except for the Hippowdon, which is a bit annoying because it can put me to sleep with a yawn, and it also sets up the Sandstream, so I take damage every single turn. But besides that, we can one-shot Wishcash with Earth Power, 2-shot Hippowdon with Crunches, 1-shot Rhyperior with any move it throws at us. Then eventually, after stalling out Gliscor for 10 turns, I could kill him with an Ice Fang. And last up was Golem, who can go down with an Earthquake. Now next up is Flint. Flint is the third run breaker, basically, because there is another Pokemon on his team that you can't get past. I mean, it is possible, but the odds of getting past that Pokemon is like 1 in a million, and I wasn't gonna do that. It's his second Pokemon, Flareon. The reason why is because of 2 things. Number 1, it has Flash Fire as its ability, and it always goes for Overheat as its first attacking move, so I have to stall out 5 Overheats before I can actually start using me first on it. But then the second problem arises, and that is Will-O-Wisp. It always goes for Will-O-Wisp after I stall out its overheats. Always. It doesn't go for anything else. Its 2 other moves are Quick Attack and Giga Impact, so if it uses Quick Attack, I can't steal that either. So the only move that it's basically viable here is Giga Impact, which it only goes for after I'm burned. If I'm not burned, it's not gonna go for Giga Impact. So either it had to miss all of its Will-O-Wisps, or I had to stall them out by using another item. The reason why I can't get burned is, of course, because I can't physically take out all of his Pokemon when I'm burned, because my attack is halved and I take damage every turn, so that's impossible. And I wasn't going to wait for him to miss all of its Will-O-Wisps, so I just used a few full restores to stall him out. After stalling out the Flareon, it eventually went for Giga Impact, and I took it down. Then Rapidash came out. It of course gets in a free hit because I just used Giga Impact, and after that I finish it off with a single Solar Beam. Infernape went down to a single Flare Blitz, and his final Pokemon is Magmartor, who actually was able to survive a lot of hits from my Mew, but in the end it did do a lot of damage against me, but I came out on top with a lot of Flamethrowers and Solar Beams. With that, it is time to head on to the final Elite Four member, Lucian, and his Psychic types. And his entire team is basically a joke, except for one Pokemon, the one that I told you about before, Bronzong. His moveset exists of Gyro Ball, which is basically useless if he uses it, because I barely do any damage with it, because my Mew is not heavy. His other moves are Earthquake, which doesn't work on him because he has Levitate, Calm Mind, so he can start setting up on me if he wants to, and his final move is Psychic, which he resists times 4. So the only way for me to win this one is if he goes for Psychic enough times without setting up Calm Minds. After Bronzong, he does also have a Gallade, which is kind of annoying to deal with, and Bronzong stalls out a lot of my Me Firstes, so eventually I had to use a PP up in order to get 24 PP on me first, otherwise it just wasn't possible. So eventually I started off against this Mr. Mime, which loves to set up Reflects or Light Screens. After that thing wasted about 6 of my Me Firstes, I eventually took it out with a Thunderbolt or 2. Next up was Espeon. He went for Shadow Ball, which was his own demise. Then Alakazam came out, who I took down with a single Energy Ball. And next up is Bronzong, the big boy. And this didn't seem too great. It just went for Calm Mind and Gyro Ball the entire time until I brought it down into a very respectable low HP range, and then he decides to use a full restore, and I thought it was over, but then I got a critical Psychic which took him out from full health. I didn't know that was possible, but then it was time to head on to Gallade. He went for Stone Edge, which left me with 16 HP, and he also hung on from my Stone Edge. After that, he went for another one, and I could take him out with it. Well, it's time for us to now head on to Cynthia, which actually isn't even hard at all. Definitely the easiest of the entire league, even easier than A-Raw. She starts off with Spiritomb, who I take down with a single Shadow Ball that I stole. Next up is Lucario, who also went for Shadow Ball, so two of them took him down. I killed her own Garchomp with a Dragon Rush, that felt great. Milotic decided to ruin a bit of my PP with some Mirror Coats, but eventually it went for 2 Surfs, so it went down as well. Then Togekiss came out, I went for the Air Slash, but it wasn't quite enough to take it out, so she healed up, and then 2 more Air Slashes took it down. And last up is Roserade. The Pokemon that gave me so much trouble in this entire playthrough is going to get killed by its own Sludge Bomb, and it made me so happy. Well, that was that. I defeated the entirety of Pokemon Platinum by using their own moves against them. I definitely thought that this was an interesting idea, because I had to learn so many movesets of Pokemon and really look up where I could get past and where I couldn't. I mean, it was basically me just spamming the A button the whole time, but it did something special every time I used me first, so I definitely think this was a very nice run, even though we had to break the rules sometimes. I of course, like always, want to thank my membership and Patreon supporters for supporting the channel. It really does help me out massively. You guys get some benefits from it as well, so if you want to sign up, the link is in the description. And as always, people, I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. I'm Zwiggo, and I'll see you guys next time.